a lot of times people think they're not stressed.
Right.
And yet they are living stressed lives. And so I tell my patients that there's two different types of stress. There's the mental stress that you are either aware of or you've adapted to, so you think you're not stressed anymore. And there is what I call biophysical stress.
Okay.
And that's the overstimulation, the lights, the TV, the phones, the social media, the inability to turn off, the constant onslaught of things. Like you sort of be desensitized to this, but your body doesn't.
Yeah, it's receiving all of those messages and interpreting them all the time. Welcome to the Vibrant Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Carrasco. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Vincent Pedre, functional medicine physician, gut biohacker, and founder of Happy Gut Life. He's a best-selling author of the Gut Smart Protocol and the creator of Happy Gut Coffee, a toxin-free coffee designed for gut health. Dr. Pedre believes that the gut is the gateway to overall health and wellness, and today we're diving deep into how your gut impacts everything from mood to metabolism, and even something as simple as your morning cup of coffee. Thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Pedre.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. So Dr. Pedre is my brother from another mother. We have been friends for a really long time and share a common Cuban heritage. So we often get to kind of experience life as functional medicine doctors with this really awesome cultural background. So it's been fun for the last, I guess, more than a decade, looking through this lens together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have our heritage is, I think, from one of the unappreciated blue zones on the planet. Maybe because they can't go and study the people there.
Yeah.
But we talk about this a lot, about the longevity of our grandparents and the Cuban people.
Yes.
And we can get into maybe some of the possible reasons for that.
I think we should. But first, I just want our audience to learn more about you and how you came into the gut health space and how you went from being an internist into kind of America's gut health doctor and all of the exciting things that you've done and figured out in the last, 15 years?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
It's flown by.
I know, it's fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started as just like fascinated with everything about medicine and fell in love with internal medicine, thinking like, oh, they are the smartest doctors out there. And then very soon realized that we were basically just glorified drug pushers and were basically just trained on what medication to give a patient for what symptom.
Right.
And I just realized, like, we're not really helping people.
It's not very satisfying.
No, we're just keeping people sick.
Right.
We're a disease management system, not a wellness empowered system. And so I was looking for what I call the truth, seeking what is really behind illness and how can I help people in a way that feels wholesome and right to me, not just like, oh, you have high blood pressure, you need to take this medication.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah. And by the way, you could exercise, you could do all these other things, but there wasn't the emphasis on that.
Or the expectation, in my experience, that the patient would even take those lifestyle steps.
No, it was like, well, you could do this, but don't worry, we have a medication for you that's going to help you feel better. And for me, it was IBS had become very apparent during medical school and later on. And I didn't realize that it was really the 20 plus rounds of antibiotics that I had been on from the age of 10 to 19 that had completely destroyed my gut microbiome. I had food sensitivities that I didn't know I had. And so I actually, before I discovered functional medicine, thought that, oh, I'm just going to live with this IBS for the rest of my life because I'm not going to go on antispasmodics. I'm not going to go on an antidepressant. I just felt like medicine didn't really have an answer for that.
Yeah.
And by the time I discovered functional medicine, which was around 2006, I thought, well, this is just kind of like the way my body is. And I don't know why sometimes I eat out and then I feel sick afterwards. And then, while everybody else can eat the foods that are generally considered part of our like culture, pizza, fries, like all that stuff. And then I discovered functional medicine and realized that it was the language that I was looking for and the understanding that I had been missing for all these years. And I was able to go back and rewrite the story of what had happened to me.
Yeah.
The 20 plus rounds of antibiotics destroyed my microbiome, led to leaky gut, led to both gluten and dairy sensitivity, along with some other foods. And really what I was dealing with was loss of microbial diversity in my gut, leaky gut, and inflammation. As a result of that, I would get eczema. I had a lot of mental fog, lots of fatigue. And I thought it was the hours, working as a doctor. And I didn't realize that it was also the foundation, what was happening inside. So when I started working on myself, thinking like, well, this stuff still felt kind of like out there, a bit like Star Trek-y.
Yeah, like 2006. Yeah. I found functional medicine in 2007. And so it was like no one was talking about this stuff.
No, and it's kind of like, okay, microbiome, like if I do this, I'm going to get better and like take gluten out. I actually needed to prove to myself, like I was already talking to patients about the idea of a gluten-free diet, but I had not done it myself. And then in 2007, I did a lab test back then it was Dunwoody Labs. And I was like, well, let me see if I'm gluten sensitive.
Yeah.
And I tested positive.
Yeah.
I think it was both an IgG and a complement activation. And then I was like, okay, now I can't deny it.
Yeah.
Because now it's on a lab test.
Right.
So I'm going to go gluten-free.
Yeah.
And it was very weird because I was sometimes running out and getting a sandwich for lunch or grabbing a slice of pizza, like doctor life, like we're rushed. Yeah. You got to eat something fast. And I realized the bigger challenge initially was that I had to completely redefine the framework of what was okay to eat.
Right.
So I no longer went to the places, like if I was going out to lunch, I went to a place where I could get gluten-free items, which inevitably means that you're eating healthier.
Right.
But what I noticed within 2 weeks, and this is back in 2007, my energy shot up that I used to feel after lunch around 3:34, like I was struggling to keep my eyes open, especially if I had anything with gluten. And now I had incredible energy through the end of the day, about 2 weeks into going gluten-free. And it just kept getting better. And I thought, well, I'm going to do a 3-month experiment.
Yeah.
And then retest it and see maybe I can have gluten after that. And so 3 months in, we're at brunch and I decide I want to have some rye bread because I love rye bread. And within 10 minutes, and I know this might not, I think a lot of the things like we start becoming aware of in functional medicine is that the way that we learn that things happen in the body is not always the correct way. That things can happen faster or slower, especially when it comes to food reactions. And not everybody is super aware, but as doctors, I think we tend to be very
hyper aware,
in tune with our bodies, maybe a little bit hyper aware. But within 10 minutes of having the rye bread, I developed a very faint rash on the inside of my wrist, and they started getting itchy.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I thought, oh, this is a reaction. 3 more months off of gluten. Let me try it again at 6 months. Same reaction. Now I thought, okay, this is not coincidence. Like first time I thought, well, maybe it's just kind of coincidence that maybe, I don't know why. I would be itchy. I was never ever itchy on the inside of my wrists. So it was something new. When it reoccurred at 6 months, same scenario, testing out rye bread, I thought, okay, this is not a coincidence. I'm going to go another 6 months gluten-free.
Yeah.
At the year mark, same thing.
Wow.
And at that point, I realized, okay, gluten is not good for me. And by then we're learning about like how the gut is connected to autoimmune disease.
Right.
And I have autoimmune disease in my family. I'm in my 30s and I'm thinking if I don't change something,
Right.
I could be harvesting
Right.
autoimmunity in my body. And I don't want to end up like my mom who had rheumatoid arthritis. So,
and that was before the Fasano papers came out, right?
That was way before.
That was like in 2012, I think.
That was 2012. So this is 2008 at this point, and I'm like 35 years old, and I'm thinking if I don't make changes now, I could end up that way.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking very far ahead, which is what most people in this country don't do.
Yeah.
They wait until things are really bad for them to make the changes. For me, it was like, well, my gut isn't so great. What is that?
Yeah.
The breeding ground for?
It's interesting because I had not a similar story in that when I went to medical school and in my third year, I developed IBS very suddenly. And I had the same I had a very big workup done by, the academic medical center where I went to school. And they all just said, well, you're stressed and you're probably depressed and you need antispasmodics. And here are 3 meds for you for forever. Great. And I just thought, I don't want meds for forever. I have to figure this out. And for me, I went to a conference where I heard Mark Hyman speak in 2007 about these topics, about food sensitivities. And I was like, how is it that I just graduated medical school and I've never heard about this, but he's presenting data? And so then I tried to go gluten-free, and within 2 weeks, like you said, like 85% better. I mean, amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. So we've come a really long way from there.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing things we can do now. And I think that that's one of the benefits of, like in my practice currently, like I love Gut Zoomer because we can get down to, we can define intestinal hyperpermeability. We can look at LPS. We can look at endotoxin. We could look at MMP9. We can look at short chain fatty acids, things that, 15 years ago I couldn't do. And it's just amazing that we can really do that now, show the patients and then see, test of cure basically.
Yeah.
Which is just, I would have never imagined that, more than 10 years ago. So tell me a little bit about, when you kind of figured all these things out and then you continue to build your practice around gut health. Tell maybe our audience that are learning and dipping their toes into functional medicine, because, a lot of our audience is practitioners. Some of us are veterans, some of us are new. And that feeling like when you're just starting to walk into the functional medicine world, it's very overwhelming. There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And then it can feel impossible sometimes. So what have you figured out for your patients over the years that really works?
I mean, first I want to say to that I became an accidental gut specialist. I wasn't trying to become a gut expert. It's just that because I had the interest and saw the transformation that I was able to create for myself by incorporating probiotics, healing the gut back then, L-glutamine, changing the diet, going organic, like cutting out processed foods, and saw how incredible that transformation was. And also that we lacked a therapeutic language for IBS patients, because I never felt satisfied as a practitioner that a patient has IBS, you just give them an antispasmodic.
Yeah, good luck.
And half the time they come back and tell you that it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
or that the quality of their IBS changes and it goes from constipation to diarrhea depending on, we didn't know what back then.
Yeah, and it just felt like it was all these unknowns, and to be able to be given a language that now could understand these patients, and then starting to work with patients like that and seeing that their migraines improved, or that suddenly they don't have allergies in the spring, or that their hives disappears,
or their mental health improved.
You started seeing all these downstream or upstream changes that were unexpected just by working on the gut. Because even though we were learning this in functional medicine, when you're new to it, there's still you're bridging from being a doctor that was trained in the Western model to a doctor that is now working with functional medicine, but yet there's a part of you that's skeptical, until you start seeing that it works,
over and over and over and over and over again.
And it's evolved so much from then, and even from, you kind of have to crawl before you can walk, and then as you're working with patients in functional medicine, you start to kind of like see your own patterns and start to see what works and what doesn't work from the functional medicine training, because functional medicine can be very supplement heavy.
Right.
And before you know it, and I've seen this, patients who have gone to other functional medicine practitioners, they're taking 20 some different supplements.
Yep.
And then at some point you're like, well,
you burn out.
And
are you even absorbing it? And
this is too much, so my approach, and I think also because I started practicing functional medicine originally through the insurance model, and that meant that I had patients who didn't have as much disposable income. I had to kind of filter it down and think, well, what is the most essential? What are the most important pieces?
Yeah.
And if a person can afford all these supplements, well, which ones are going to be the movers and shakers? And we're in an amazing era now because, with the peptides, they're way better than anything we had.
They're game changers
before.
For sure. Yes.
L-glutamine just doesn't really cut it. And I know there was a lot of research on L-glutamine, but when you start applying it clinically and you're seeing how people respond, they don't respond as fast as putting people on oral, like BPC 157 or Lorazepam, KPB, combinations of those. But also, you asked me, what have I seen? What really works for people? You can't heal a stressed out body.
Which is such a hard topic to broach, because who isn't stressed?
Well, and also, there's a lot of people out there who are stressed, but don't think they're stressed.
Well, let me ask you this question. It's a caveat off of what you just said, kind of about our heritage. All of our grandparents left Cuba during the Cuban Revolution, and they were very stressed. Yet, they're almost like blue zone. So what do you think the difference was for their generation?
I think it was just this very tight-knit community.
The belonging?
Feeling. A lot of the Cubans ended up in Miami.
Yeah.
There was always this connection, community. I think that's super important. I have my theories. My grandparents lived to a much later age than my parents did. And my parents were 28 when they left Cuba. And even my grandparents, by the time they left Cuba, and then my grandfather, when he finally moved to Miami, he was retired. So I think he lived a lower stress life, whereas my parents were establishing themselves, and they were still
they had a
hustling. My dad had his own business. So I think there was a lot more stressors there, but also there's a lot of toxins that we get exposed to.
Yeah.
And so it complicates matters.
Yeah. There's so many more inputs in this day and age.
There's way more inputs. My dad developed Parkinson's disease. And when I went back and kind of reviewed the onset of the illness, I realized that it started after the second time that our house was fumigated for termites. And the toxin that they use to fumigate for termites has been associated with Parkinson's disease. Wow. And it was done twice after I had moved out for college.
Yeah.
And it was soon after the second fumigation that he started developing some of the early signs of, like, his writing started getting smaller.
Wow.
And then, and this was still like, I wish I had been where I'm at now in functional medicine and would have known way more and so many things that we could have done for him. But unfortunately, at the time, I was still a medical student and didn't quite know what to do. I had heard about gluten-free diets, but thought that sounds really weird. That's out there.
And
but
probably nobody was talking about toxic exposures, or there weren't tests like the,
Did you get that in medical school? Like, I don't think anybody talked about.
I mean, I knew there was occupational health.
Right.
But that just seemed like the people that did asbestos and maybe were welders.
Yeah. And nobody really talked about mold and mycotoxins and the effect of that. And now plastic exposure and microplastics and what that's doing to the gut. There's a lot that was in our blind spot.
Yeah.
As doctors, that then once you see it,
can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it, and then it just starts to build and build, and it gets more and more complicated. But you were asking, for people out there who are just starting functional medicine, like for me, I pursued what I found interesting, and what I enjoyed, and then the patients kind of mirrored that, because as I became more interested in gut health, I had more patients that got better with their gut health issues, then they would refer their family, their friends, their coworkers. So it wasn't like I was trying to become a gut health expert. It just kind of happened because I was pursuing my passion.
Right.
And then from there, it just continues to expand because the gut is the foundation for everything. Yeah. Right. The command central for our immune system, but it affects our mitochondria. Now I'm super interested in mitochondrial health and how we can optimize mitochondria. There's a new test for mitochondrial function that I'm using. So, and it's kind of like, it's different from being a doctor for everyone versus doing what you feel passionate about and helping people through that. Right. But there's a lot that can't be ignored because a gut patient isn't just a gut patient.
Well, that's the thing, right? When you get into functional medicine and you really practice it completely, you realize that everything is interconnected. It's like a spider web, and everything affects everything, affects everything, affects everything. And so we've talked about this before on this podcast, how, medical subspecialties are so siloed. Like, you just stick to your lane. Like, you're a dermatologist, you just stick to the skin. But wait, what about the microbiome skin access? Like, what about all the eczema patients that have gut dysbiosis, or psoriasis patients? Or even acne patients. And so, or, you can say that for any specialty in endocrinology and rheumatology. Like, we just ignore all the other systems of the body because, you're just trained in this one path. You just put your blinders on and you just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It is a disservice in a way to patients because, you are a whole being. And now, when you go see your subspecialist for your, very specific one issue, like your joint pain, it's almost like doctors have a really hard time connecting all the dots. And it just should be good medicine.
It just takes time.
Yeah.
And to do good medicine, you can't do it in a 7-minute visit.
No.
And so that's part of the problem with our system, because it's so much easier to just prescribe a medication than sit there and talk about what stress they were going through when the symptoms started.
Right. What's blocking them from making changes? Yeah,
because then when you start looking at all those things, then you realize that it's not just physical, that there's also the mental, emotional, and spiritual,
psychosocial.
And usually that's where things are coming from. And just going back to what I said, that a lot of times people think they're not stressed.
Right.
And yet they are living stressed lives. And so I tell my patients that there's 2 different types of stress. There's the mental stress that you are either aware of or you've adapted to, so you think you're not stressed anymore. Yeah. And there is what I call biophysical stress.
Okay.
And that's the overstimulation, the lights, the TV, the phones, the social media, the inability to turn off, the constant onslaught of things. Like you you sort of be desensitized to this, but your body doesn't.
Yeah, it's receiving all of those messages and interpreting them all the time.
Your body is always sensing this. Probably one of the bigger, I live in New York City, which is overstimulation.
The city that never sleeps.
It's overstimulation. But when I'm there for a while, I get adapted to it. And then depending on where I've gone, one time, 2 years ago, I went to Costa Rica, to the Nosara region. And Nosara, they have no street lights. So
I can't even imagine what
when
that's
the sun
like.
sets,
it's dark.
It's dark, other than the lights in the buildings, but still, I realize that there's something even just from not having the ambient light outside that changes how your body feels.
Oh, yeah.
It was easier to start feeling sleepy at 9:30, 10 at night after sunset. Whereas when you're surrounded by all this artificial light, both inside your home and outside your home, it's much harder for your body to turn off. And when I came back from that trip, because I stayed there, I was there for 2 weeks, New York City felt overwhelming.
Felt like Las Vegas.
I realized just getting into the city and the billboards, the this, the that. Same thing when I went to Cuba, because in Cuba, even though there's night lights, but you don't have all those billboards. You don't have all that advertising.
Well, there's not electricity all day long.
There's not electricity all day long now. There weren't power outages when I was there, but yeah, we don't appreciate how much this is affecting our bodies. It affects gut health. It affects everything, because your body cannot heal if it is not in a parasympathetic, relaxed state. And I say that because that to me is primo.
Yeah.
Before the supplements,
it's number one.
Before diet,
but
before
it's the
everything.
Hardest thing to.
It's hard because to get people to even, people say they can't sit in meditation, or they don't know how to relax. I just did a Qigong workshop, and I actually found this was quite fascinating. This was led by Pedram Shojai, the urban monk. And it was very fascinating because, for parts of it, you're putting your focus on one point, you're moving your hand across and you're just looking at your hand. And you do these exercises leading up to a moment when you sit down in meditation. And even at the beginning, he taught us this thing called the 5 breaths. And the first 3 breaths, your eyes are open and you're focusing on one spot. They also have a meditation where you put a candle in front of you at 45 degrees and you just focus on the candle. But what I noticed was that after that period of not looking at my phone, not being distracted by other things, really putting focus on one thing, whatever it is, the movement that you're doing, because you always keeping your hands in your vision, whether direct or in your peripheral vision, that when I closed my eyes to meditate, my brain was quiet.
Yeah.
Because of that focus. Now, it can be playing an instrument. Right. It could be going and riding horses, anywhere where your focus is present on that one thing, because that's what we need more of.
That's interesting, because we live in such a mode and in a world where we're multitasking all the time. We've got 15,000 tabs open on our computers. We're getting pinged on our phones. The TV's going. It's, and that, what you just said, it's true, because when I was a child, I played the cello all through high school and college. And that I felt such peace and flow when I just played and had that singular focus. And you're a musician too, so I'm sure you have that.
I played the piano, and I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't taught meditation, breath work, but I've looked back at videos of me when I went up and performed, and I realized just intuitively, I would actually sit in front of the piano and take a breath
Gather
first
yourself. Yeah.
before. And I remember when I would play, like sometimes I would practice for like 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
My sisters hated it because on a Saturday morning, like they slept till noon and I was like, can I start playing? But when I would play for 3 hours, I was like in a meditative trance.
You could lose yourself. And performing, sometimes I remember I would be like, whoa, did I just do that whole performance?
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make, and you're probably trying to make, is that we don't have singular focus very much in our world right now.
No, we have, our focus is split up.
I feel like there's a ping pong ball in my mind a lot.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. And we're all subject to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I realized that I went from being a very focused individual. I did not have ADHD. I did not have to be on any medications. And I don't know if that's because I was a pianist from the age of 7 to 17.
Yeah.
And that like taught me laser sharp focus. But when you become a doctor and you're in the hospital and nurse is calling you here about this patient, and then another nurse is calling you about this patient, and then your intern is asking you about this patient, and then something else is happening.
And your pager's going off.
And your brain starts getting split in multiple directions. And you actually have to become sort of like a skilled ADD where you're able to split your attention in multiple ways. And it's sort of like you have to adapt to that. But for coming back to how the body heals, it doesn't heal in that split attention, sympathetic overdrive.
Right.
And that's with the gut, with everything. Someone was telling me recently that they had developed histamine intolerance from mold toxicity, mycotoxin exposure. And I do a lot of that testing now.
Yeah.
Even though it's almost like always like opening Pandora's box.
I know. It's like, would you like to go down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
That's what I asked my
It's like, because we start with gut zoomer, wheat zoomer, dairy zoomer.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you know that you might also have other toxicities that we should look for. And this person had a histamine intolerance, histamine overload from mycotoxin, became allergic to almost every food.
Yeah.
And the thing that shifted it for them was going to a Joe Dispenza workshop, meditation, changing the internal frequency.
Just getting that parasympathetic activation.
Getting the brain into gamma, which is the healing frequency for the brain.
Yeah.
And then her body stopped reacting. And they said that they realized that they were just in a state of fight or flight.
Yeah.
So, and I found that so fascinating that there's other layers to this, because you could be throwing like, let's put you on DAO, let's put you on, let's have you on a highly restrictive diet. And then before you know it, the person is stressed out, not living, unable to go out.
Yeah.
And it comes back to, you cannot out supplement and you can't out diet.
A body that feels unsafe.
A stressed out body.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is an interesting question I have for you. So we were talking last night about your travels, because you've been privileged to go to some pretty cool and remote places. So do you want to share with our audience about,
Yeah, I wrote about this in my last book, The Gut Smart Protocol, my learnings from having spent 3 days, 2 nights camping out in the middle of the bush with the Hadza, which are one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes on the planet. They live in Tanzania in Africa. And I was lucky enough to get invited on this trip. And the reason I was so excited to be part of this group that was going to go visit and stay with the Hadza and just understand like how they live, what they do, because I had already been looking at the stool studies that they had done on the Hadza.
Right.
And they had done a comparative study between Hadza and an Italian group control, and they age matched it. So the age range was from like 8 years old till like 60 some years old. Same thing with the Italian group. And you would think like Italy, Mediterranean diet.
A lot of blue zone.
One of the healthiest diets on the planet. And yet the Hadza microbiome was way more diverse than the Italian microbiome. And I started thinking about, well, where might this come from, and why is this important?
Yeah.
Well, not only is their microbiome diverse, but they don't have diabetes, they don't have heart disease, they don't have obesity, they don't get cancer. They basically don't have the modern diseases of the Western world. So there's got to be some tie-in between that and gut microbiome diversity. And we know from another study done at Stanford University that gut microbiome diversity is what reduces inflammation in the body. They did a study where they showed that the more diverse the microbiome, 19 different inflammatory markers all dropped.
Wow. So like your IL-6 and your TNF-alpha and
all of that. Activation, cytokine release.
Beta, all that things. Yeah.
Yes. From having a more diverse gut microbiome. So I'm tying that together with the Hadza, who are free of basically, the main thing that they battle with is getting respiratory infections because they're living out in the elements. And so it got me thinking, because in functional medicine, we talk about eating the rainbow and how important that is to create diversity. And yet when I was with the Hadza, they eat tubers.
Yeah.
The tubers are white.
Yeah.
They eat wild honey. Okay, amber.
Yeah.
And they eat everything. The honeybees, the honeycomb.
Oh, wow.
Everything. The honeybees there are tiny. They look like little flies. So they're these special honeybees that actually bore into a tree trunk and then create the honeycomb inside the tree. So you have to be able to find, and I don't know how they saw this because we went out into the bush hunting and gathering with them. The bees create like a little air chimney.
Oh.
That if you see it, then you cut the tree trunk open, the entire honeycomb is inside of there.
Wow, I bet that's amazing.
And we had they were pouring honey in my hands, and I had the tubers out in the wild. And then they eat berries, but the berries out in the bush in Africa
Probably not sweet like the blueberries at Costco.
They're not sweet. They don't look so bright colored. They're actually very muted in color. So they're eating anything from big game animals to smaller game animals, and baobab fruit, which is also tan.
Yeah.
So they're not eating the rainbow. And yet they have an incredibly diverse gut microbiome. So I looked at that and started thinking well, that's eating the rainbow is not the entire story.
Right.
Maybe it does help. We know from the Stanford study that eating diverse amount of fiber modulated the immune response depending on the baseline gut microbiome diversity.
Right.
So it was very interesting because they put this group on either a high fermented foods diet or a high fiber diet. And what they found was that surprisingly, and maybe the study wasn't long enough, but that the high fermented foods group was the one that improved gut microbiome diversity the most.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's probably because there is some cross-feeding that happens. So it's not just about the probiotic bacteria that you're ingesting through the fermented foods. It's that they're creating postbiotics that are supporting the diversity of the microbiome.
Right. Which we could say that when you eat the rainbow, you're also eating, polyphenols, which could play a big role in postbiotics.
Yeah. And polyphenols being another form of prebiotic that doesn't cause excessive gas formation. Also, polyphenols have been shown, like pomegranate or citrus bioflavonoids. They help to restore the mucus layer, which most people
make urolithins as well.
Yeah, exactly. And support Akkermansia. So, but then they looked at the fermented foods group, and even though they didn't increase in diversity enough,
in the fiber group
compared, the fiber group versus the fermented foods group. What they found in the fiber group, they actually then asked the question, well, what happened to the immune response? And they found that if baseline diversity was high to begin with, and you added fiber, actually modulated the immune response and kept the immune system from overreacting. But if diversity was low and you increase fiber, it actually activated the immune response.
Oh, interesting.
So it was paradoxical. Like the effect was dependent on what the baseline diversity was, controlled how fiber affected the immune response.
So then it's like for us, that probably means we need fiber and we need polyphenols and we need fermentable, foods.
Yeah, I think if I were to redo this study, because they only had a fermented foods group and a fiber group, I would have added a control group, and then I would have also added a high fermented foods and fiber group. They actually did that in another study that was done in Ireland, where they looked at what they call the psychobiotic diet, which is basically a diet rich in fermented foods and fiber.
Yeah.
And they did a pre and post, they used a standardized stress score, the Cohen stress score. And they asked people to fill out their stress score before. These were just normal people, not on any psychiatric medications. And there was no type of psychotherapy done during the 4 weeks. They just either put them on the high fermented foods and fiber diet, or this was Ireland. Or they put them on like an Irish food pyramid diet that was probably like
eating potatoes.
Yeah. But told them to try to reduce sugar and they still found that the fermented foods and fiber group increased their gut diversity more. So it increased diversity to like, they had improvement by like 30% and their stress score dropped by 37%.
Yeah. Wow. And right now, I think one of the hot topics in kind of gut health and microbiome health is the psychobiotic growth movement. I think a lot of people are looking and researching, what psychobiotics can impact mental health, decrease anxiety.
And yet,
it's like we could do it from diet.
Yeah, well, then, now we're starting to treat functional medicine like Western medicine. Like, what is the one thing that can do that one thing? But it isn't.
Right.
It's a combination of factors.
Right. Can we isolate one strain that would then decrease anxiety? Maybe, but it's really this coalescence of
it's such
lifestyle
it's a holistic
issues,
approach.
Right? Yeah.
And they were really smart in this study. So they actually not only put people on the diet, they monitored their compliance.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
And they found that the higher the compliance, the greater the drop in the stress score. So there's a direct correlation between the two.
Yeah.
And all they did was change the diet, which comes back to like we were talking about in the beginning, like you fix the gut, then suddenly other things get better, like your mood, your anxiety.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's the only thing, but if you want to improve your mental health, you need to start with the foundation first, with the gut.
There's so much we can manipulate within the gut to impact the whole body. And I think that is overlooked.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, that's like another place, like you talked about, like cardiology and pulmonology, like all these specialties that only look at one place, but also psychiatry.
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
They, for so many years, thought that the brain was isolated from the rest of the body, and what was happening in the brain was not influenced by the rest of the body. And we know that the blood-brain barrier is impacted when there's leaky gut.
Yeah.
And you get a leaky blood-brain barrier, and then the brain isn't protected.
Yeah, and then if you have all these inflammatory cytokines, it's not like they don't impact your brain. They're coursing through your vessels. Yeah. Of course, it's going to impact your whole body.
Yeah. So going back to the Hadza, like seeing that, I realized, well, what is it that they're doing that's different?
Yeah. That
might be promoting gut microbiome diversity, because they're certainly not eating the rainbow.
Right.
Exposure to dirt. They
like
don't
the
have
farm studies.
They don't have sanitization practices. They had a lot of dogs following them. So I think of dogs as microbiome expanders, especially since dogs are licking, putting their noses in the soil, and the soil has a lot of spore-based organisms.
I wonder if there's some parasitic infections too, which we know can help also balance the autoimmune, the immune system.
This was also super fascinating because I found a study looking at the microbiome of the Hadza. And one thing that they had in their microbiomes was a species of Treponema. Mm-hmm. Treponema is what causes syphilis.
Oh, interesting.
And yet in them, and it also causes, it's responsible for...
like some skin.
Is it leprosy or some sort of skin? Mm-hmm. But they don't get it.
Yeah.
And it turns out that this Treponema is also highly skilled, and its superpower is breaking down fiber. Interesting. And they have very high fiber diets from eating tubers. Like they're eating anywhere between 40, 50 grams of fiber, whereas a regular American is eating like 10 to 15 grams of fiber. So this Treponema is not causing disease in their body. It's actually helping them digest and break down fiber. And you look at that and you realize, well, their microbiome is in perfect balance.
Wow.
And certainly if you take that Treponema and put it in a Western gut that's been exposed to antibiotics, I'm sure it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So there's something about the ecosystem that is just right for them that wouldn't be right for us.
Yeah.
But it says a lot about our understanding of what a bad bug is and what it isn't, because we all have bad bugs inside our guts. Right. And are they playing, even parasites, which are modulating the immune response, are they all bad?
Right. Like, are they helping balance TH1, TH2?
That's the question. Like you see, if you look at the trends of autoimmune disease in India didn't have any autoimmune disease like MS, things like that, pre-introduction of highly refined food, sugar, and antibiotics. And then you see the rise of autoimmunity in India. So you got to wonder, like, were parasites also meant to serve some sort of balancing role in the gut when there are the other appropriate bugs to keep them in check?
There was a time when it was very in vogue, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, when people were trying to order, is it tapeworm larvae off the internet to try and modulate.
Well, as an immune modulator, because they do help to tone down the immune system. Yeah. And I did a talk about the gut immune axis. And depending on the type of bacteria that's living on the other side of that mucus layer, it's communicating with our dendritic cells and actually either having them go send a signal that creates an attack T cell or a regulatory T cell that calms everything down.
Right.
And there's a polysaccharide that's secreted by them, polysaccharide A, that modulates the immune response. So we know that lipopolysaccharide activates the immune response, but there are also bacteria secreting other polysaccharides that downregulate the immune response.
Fascinating. There's this show that my kids watched when they were little called Magic School Bus, and I don't know if you ever saw that, but like the school bus shrinks and you can go into people's intestines, and it would be so neat to just be on that school bus and see what's actually happening. Because I think that we've just, gotten to the tip of it. There's so much more we don't understand.
There's still a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the variables don't trump what we know are the foundational items, like we're talking about, like diet, fermented foods, stress.
Fiber.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know more about your story with coffee, because when I met you, you did not drink coffee.
I didn't.
And I drank a lot of coffee. I
gave up coffee because I'm a slow metabolizer, and I just always felt sick with coffee. Like it never sat well for me. And being Cuban, that's like
sacrilege.
It's sacrilege. Like, how can you not drink coffee? And actually, I had given up coffee for 7 years. And it started after I had led a group on my 28-day gut reset. And I did the program with them. And part of the program is, a lot of our functional medicine elimination diets take coffee out Because coffee is like an extra drag on the liver. It's like, it's an activator P450. Like you want to just kind of
activate cortisol. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took coffee out and I actually felt way better and found that coffee was connected to my migraines. So then I just went matcha, and I was very strict about it, minus when I went to Cuba and our Airbnb host showed up with espresso and I felt like it was going to be very rude of me to not take it because I know how, scarce things are for them to be offering us, a morning coffee.
Yeah.
So, but then other than that, I was coffee free for a very long time and thought, well, I feel so much better with matcha. It's more balanced, L-theanine. And I always felt kind of jittery with coffee until a company sent me a Swiss water decaf that was supposed to be good for people who get jittery with coffee. And I had it, and the first time I made a coffee, I realized how much I missed it.
I think you might have called me or texted me and said, like, I had coffee and I felt great. I'm like, what?
And I didn't get jittery. And then that just started, it just got me thinking, like, what is it that we have wrong with coffee?
Because we know coffee can be very important for longevity.
Coffee is important for longevity. Coffee has some really, really important polyphenols.
It's good for your liver. Can be good for your liver.
Yeah, and we know that there are benefits to coffee enemas, even though they are controversial. But then I started looking at everything in coffee. Coffee being one of the top 10 crops that is sprayed with pesticides on the planet. And then you get the possibility of contamination with mold, with mycotoxins, depending on the quality of the bean.
Right.
And then you start realizing that maybe it's not just that it's the caffeine in the coffee, that there's more elements to it. So I started researching that and came upon what ended up becoming the first version of Happy Gut coffee. It was a caffeinated coffee. And I was so nervous the first day I tried it because I thought, am I going to be like shaking and like all caffeinated? And I
super amped and stressed.
I felt like this.
Wow.
I was just even keel and there was no crash.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, like, it's not just the caffeine. It's the other, it's all the other things that are in coffee, the toxins, the microplastics when you go get coffee at a coffee shop, that you realize you're not just drinking the coffee, you're drinking whatever the coffee is if it's not organic, it's probably going to have some pesticide residues. And then on top of that, you're going to have microplastics. Are going
cups,
to,
because they're lined
from the inner lining of the cups, that's going to shear your mucus layer.
Yeah.
So they've done studies where they've zebrafish and also on rodents where they show that the microplastics destroy the mucus layer, cause leaky gut, cause the overgrowth of bad bugs, and can even cause liver function abnormalities, weight gain. So I started looking at all of that, and then also the roasting process. So depending on how the coffee is roasted, it affects the final product. And this was a dark roast. So the darker the roast, the lower it does drop the caffeine by a bit. So that's why I could drink a dark roast and be okay. But then it doesn't end there, because most coffee is drum roasted, which means that the beans are coming into contact with the heat surface. And the beans have an outer skin called the chaff. And when that gets cooked, if it gets overcooked, it gets burnt. It's easy to burn the chaff. It then gets advanced glycosylation end products. You get polyaromatic hydrocarbons that are released. So you get toxins from even the process of making the beans. So a
lot of those things could also like increase cancer risk, things like that.
Exactly.
We talk about heterocycloamines and hydrocarbons and things like that. Yeah.
So I started looking into alternative ways to roast beans and came upon the roaster that we're working with now, which is an air roaster. It uses a German air roasting machine that's monitoring the temperature inside. And as the beans, actually, when the beans first hit the heat, the chaff actually falls off and gets pulled out. So the chaff doesn't burn with the beans. So now you're just roasting the coffee bean by itself. And then the polyaromatic hydrocarbons that are getting generated are actually being off-gassed.
Right.
So they're not part of the final product. And you get a much cleaner product with the air roasting. So not only starting with sourcing organic beans, working with a facility that only uses organic beans, so there's no chance of cross-contamination, and then the air roasting, which creates a much cleaner end product.
Yeah, and no chance of mycotoxins.
And no mycotoxins, because first starting with higher quality beans, and then the roasting itself, if there are any mycotoxins, does get rid of some of them.
Yeah.
But if the beans are high in mycotoxins, because coffee is sold by weight.
Yeah.
So sometimes they might actually add some water.
Yeah.
To the coffee beans.
And then they have to dry, and then they get moldy.
Yeah.
And we see that like on tests, when I run the tox tests, we'll see
looking at
high
ochratoxin.
ochratoxin, and it's like, okay, well, what are you eating? And a lot of it's just, I'm just getting whatever coffee.
And by the way, you're going to miss ochratoxin A if you're not doing some sort of challenge to get it out. So before I do the mycotoxin profile, I'll have patients take liposomal glutathione for 2 weeks. And also I've heard of other practitioners having them do an infrared sauna the day before collecting the test to kind of agitate the ochratoxin, because the ochratoxin is a retained toxin, whereas there are other toxins that are more easily expelled.
Right. It's fascinating. So now you've created a coffee that doesn't destroy your gut and is mycotoxin free.
Yeah.
And is organic.
Yeah.
And is roasted in a way that doesn't give you cancer.
Yes.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Happy gut coffee.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good holiday gift for people. If anyone's listening, this is probably a holiday season.
We'll have a 3-bag discount, which make a great gift set if you go to happygutcoffee.com. And the thing is, like, well, going back to Cuban culture and there's something about coffee that it brings people together. Just think about how people conglomerate. When I was a kid, and whenever any of our Cuban friends came over, the first question that was asked is, would you like some coffee?
Yeah.
And then we were making Cuban espresso from the mocha pot, which is a very intense dark roast that probably can wake up the dead.
Yeah. Well, my mom has tried your coffee, so it is Cuban mom approved.
It is Cuban mom approved.
She does love it.
Yes.
She does love it. All right. Well, let's see. If people want to learn more about what you do, follow you, where can they find you? If they want to become a patient, all the things that you do. You do so many things.
Yeah, if they
You're
go
like
to
a Renaissance man.
Yeah. It's it keeps life interesting. They can go to Instagram at Dr. Pedre, DrPedre. I try to put out a lot of informational, free content out there, lots of free giveaways. And on my links, they can find ways to schedule a discovery call to work one-on-one with me. Or they can go to pedremd.com to learn more about that. And they can learn more about Happy Gut and everything that I do there by going to happygutlife.com and check out the coffee. Because I just keep getting great feedback. And you've tried the coffee. It's been one of the funnest things that I've done is bringing joy to people's lives with something that is also healthy, while educating them to stop going to the coffee shop and getting coffee to go in those, or at least take a Yeti with you,
right? And
have them pour your coffee into your steel-lined Yeti so that you're not drinking the microplastics with your coffee.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fascinating conversation. Your breadth of knowledge is impressive, and you've had so many lived experiences. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.